Hi, this is Mr. G of Mr. G Sequins and Stuff, and this is going to be my first tutorial, otherwise known as my part 1 of part 3 series of ensuring structure, shape, and movement. So, like I said, this is my first tutorial. I wanted to warn anybody who might have a problem with it that I do have kind of a speech problem. If I go too slow or I tend to have a type of stutter, I apologize. Not only that, I do tend to have some tremors and shakiness in my hands. Go figure. So, just a warning if you do see that or if it bothers you in the tutorial through learning of my work. I do apologize. I will try to keep it to a minimum. I do have multiple projects that involve this. It's something you can use for a lot of projects. So one of the first projects I want to discuss, because we're going to discuss today, cardboard. Using cardboard to not only shape but add structure to your project. So part 1 of part 3 is going to be structure. And by structure, I mean cardboard. I like to use cardboard for some structure if it is either not staying or it needs to be hard, it needs to have some form, it needs to hold something in place, or it's just not working out. And when I say that, I mean by not working out, it just needs some sort of form to allow it to stay or to function or look good and make it work. And by that, I mean an example would be I bought a Tunisian crochet hook set and I did not like the case it came with. So I am making my own case. And instead of using the case that it came with to use that as a base for it, I decided to make my own base out of cardboard. Example here. So I made the outside and then I put a piece of cardboard that is going to be the base inside. And you stitch it around here. So the example would be to clean all this up, fold it in, and then put a piece of cardboard over it and stitch it around. Thus that being the front. So obviously the cardboard here is doing quite a bit of work. You can hear it. I mean, even with it not being on a surface, you can hear it's quite hard. Even with just a light tap. So that's just an example for today. I do, however, have some work to do today that I will show you how to do it. That doesn't mean that this one's more complicated. So today's tutorial is going to be a little more complicated than just putting a piece in and sewing it all around. Granted, that's kind of what I'm doing today, but I'm creating more of a net around it to hold it in place with stuffing because I'm required to stuff today. So this is due to the fact that the stuffing won't stay in place. I'm having to stuff as I go and it keeps moving. The stuffing keeps moving on me. So, especially because I'm still manipulating everything and I'm going to continue to manipulate everything for a long time. So I want that to stay in place while I work. So this project is a Highland cow trophy head. So when you're crocheting this, of course, you're going to look at it as, let me back up, you're going to look at it as a piece of false taxidermy. So of course, I'm going to try to make it stay as much as I can. I mean, it's okay if the stuffing moves. I mean, this is not something that's going to be touched all the time like a toy. This is going up on the wall like a mantle. So that's okay. But the problem was, and I noticed this as soon as I started, was the stuffing in the nose would not stay. And it had a little, if you can see, it kind of has like a little bit of a line here. Right here. It has a little bit of a line. So I noticed that if I took a piece of cardboard about that size and stuffed it in there over the stuffing, and I can show you here, you create like a little net to hold not only the stuffing underneath, but the cardboard over it. Keeping the cardboard over it will keep it in place. And that was just for this part. And this will, I'll talk about this more in part 2 of shaping, and it just helps with shaping, but this will be talked about more in part 2, but I want to explain how I'm getting this second part to stay so hard, not just with cardboard. As you can see, it's solid. So if I go under here, you can see metal. So right there under the cardboard, or over the cardboard, I should say, there we go, right there you can see the closure. There is wire around it. So it's not only holding the stuffing in place with the cardboard, it's right, the cardboard is connecting with the yarn, and it's connecting with the wire itself. So now, for a tutorial, we have another part where I have to put cardboard with the wire. So I want to show you how to do cardboard and stuffing to give yourself more structure. So the first part I have to do is roll the yarn over so I can see what size it is and cut out a piece of cardboard that size. Because if you try to do it without rolling it over, you're going to get the wrong size. And I know that because I've made that mistake. So just kind of roll it over, and I know it kind of looks funny with the safety eyes there. Kind of looks like a monster. So as you can see, there's the cardboard, and it's not just there, it's actually to the wire. It's actually to the wire right there. And you know, it doesn't matter, you don't have to weave it in because it's just going to get stuffed over. But I'm just showing you that this is the first step. You do have to pull the yarn over. Speaking of which, this will probably work with any yarn, but this is an acrylic, and it's a weight 4. It's just some simple, cheap acrylic, like a pound. So now that I've done this, let me go cut a piece of cardboard that will fit not only this shape, but this size. Just wanted to leave it this way because so you can see the past work with the wire. So let me go cut a piece of cardboard and we'll be back. So we're back and I've got my piece of cardboard. Now you might think, okay, we've got our piece of cardboard and it fits. So let's continue. Actually, it doesn't fit because it fits over the piece. You want it to go inside the piece, inside the line right here, because I have folded it and it needs to fit inside this line right here. This line on the outside. You don't want it over on top, you want it on the inside. And that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, is thinking, oh, I'll just glue it on top or sew it on top or something. No, that's not going to work, because look, just going to fold like that. You need it to be on the inside. So, and it will always probably fit on top the first try, at least with this type of method. Not method, but probably with this type of project I'm doing. I usually have to always make the cardboard smaller or fix it or something. There's always something wrong with it. So I just always take it back and I start trimming it. So just a warning, when using cardboard, there will always be some form of trimming going on of the cardboard until it fits. It doesn't have to fit. It doesn't have to be a perfect shape. It just has to fit it to where it will keep everything in and stuffed in, and at least the crochet will cover it. You don't want it to be like, oh, here's my cardboard all over here and my crochet is over here. No, that's not going to work, because then the stuffing is going to stick out over here and then there's no point of the shaping. So make sure the cardboard does fit, but on the inside, but make sure it fits within the shape. And I know that's a lot. But we want our work to stay forever young and make sure it doesn't fall apart. That's what the cardboard is for, to make sure it stays and that it doesn't fall apart. So now I'm going to take this cardboard and I'm going to go and trim it to try to fit on the inside, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, we have the piece of cardboard, and there's a little space right here in the inside, but that will be fixed with like the little net we're going to make and stuffing on the inside. So now that we have our cardboard, and I've explained most of it, I am going to stuff the third part. And I have to admit, I am very bad at stuffing. I don't get most of it. The only piece I've ever stuffed besides this was a Apple toy, and I was very bad at that too. And that one was, I've only worked with yarn really. This is the first time I've worked with polyfill, and I'm still using some yarn with it just because it gives it some, it helps fill it up and take some of the volume there. So I am going to stuff it. Unfortunately, it is one of my biggest self-esteem issues. I'm very self-conscious about it. So I am going to stuff it as best as I can. And then I will be back to show you how to do the netting here. So give me a couple minutes and I'll be back. Okay, so we are back and I stuffed it. And I don't know if I did a good job or not. Personally, this is probably the best job I've ever done. But as you can see, I mean, this is it's stuffed right here. I mean, it's sticking out a little bit, but it will get pushed down with the cardboard, or I'm sure some will fall out while I work. I guarantee some will fall out while I work. So your options are, you can either flip the flaps up while working, or, you know, I got 2 flaps here because I decided to divide this to shape. But I prefer to work with the flaps down so I can see the stitches around right here easier and work with it easier without the flaps in my way. And so I can stick the cardboard in when I am ready. So it's dealer's choice here, you know, but I will show you how I create a net. And it really is freeform crochet when it comes to the netting. I am using a 3.5 millimeter hook. And I am using I'm using a different color. This is one of the colors I used in the project. I just find it not the main color, so I use this because I don't want to be wasteful. And I think you guys can see it a bit better compared to the brownish red color. So let's go ahead and get started. So for anybody who is a beginner, this is probably not instructions for a beginner. This is just to teach anybody who already knows what they're doing, just to add some structure to their project. And I will show, after we're done, how I have, this will be the third section of my project that has been stuffed. And when I show you when we're done, you will be able to see clearly that it has like 3 different parts of the face. It will clearly show some different type of shaping that you can tell if you had just done stuffing and not done the wiring and the cardboard as well. And again, I will do part 2 on the wiring. And part 3 will just be kind of like a fun little tidbit on movement with crochet and how you can get things to move with the structure and not have it break or bend or ruin your work just by moving it. So we are not putting the cardboard in quite yet. And all I did was make a tiny loop to put it in. I know there's many ways to make a little slip knot. So just make a slip knot, you know, however you find fit. So I am going to kind of flip this forward. I don't have the best camera equipment right now because I am a beginner and I didn't want to kind of spend the money. I know I'm cheap. So as you can see, again, I'm going to kind of find right there. That's the area right there. So that is where I connected the wire. So when I flip it over, see, you can see the wire right there, under there. And that's where we're going to crochet. We're going to crochet on the surface stitch all around the wire. And obviously we're using the surface stitch because we don't want to see it on the outside. Granted, with this project, it doesn't matter for me because the outside is going to be covered with different pieces of hair and everything. It doesn't matter. But I still like to keep it on the surface stitch to keep it on the inside because I'm going to need the other surface stitches on the outside for the actual pieces of hair. So, you know, I have a purpose for that. You know, I'm just trying to keep the stuffings falling out, and I'm trying to figure out how to hold this while I film. This is terrible. Go figure my luck. And also the wire keeps moving. So when you do this, the wire does move and bend. And that's what I mean by part 3 of movement, because the wire does bend at the slightest little thing, at you grabbing at it. Okay, so here, that is perfect. There we go. Okay, so, oh, right there. That's even better. So let me just readjust myself. So we're going to take our hook. I have to readjust myself again. There we go. Perfect. So I'm going to take my hook, and I find it easier to just find the surface stitch you find easiest to get into. And I'm not going to go on the top here because it'll be way too slippery, because the hook will do nothing but rub against the metal of either the wire or what we call a butt connector. And the butt connector is what connects the wire to each other, and it's usually used by electricians. So this is a non-insulated butt connector, and I will show you what that is on the next tutorial having to do with the wires. So I'm just going to slip through here, and I'm going to make a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to do double crochets all around. And it might take a while, so I will show you the first couple of double crochets. If I can get in there. Okay, so this is a tip that you can use. I will just make a short about it another time, but I have to use it right now. It is a pick. I find it comes in handy for a lot of things. Hair bands stuck in hair, shoelaces that get caught. I mean, anything you need to get in there, I mean, it gets in there. So I use it to not only get under knotted yarn and things that are stuck, but it helps loosen those stitches that you can't get simply with your fingernail. And I find it very useful. In fact, I find that I can't leave the house without one. I have one in my purse all the time. So I find it a very handy tool. And again, I'm going to have to use it because this is straight on the butt connector, and the butt connector is quite wide compared to the wire. And sometimes you have to double the stitches, make an increase on each stitch due to the fact that it has to be covered. And I guarantee once you're over the butt connector and you're done with it, you'll find it way easier to go around and get into these surface stitches. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get past these, trying to get past this butt connector to show you exactly how easy it is to work these surface stitches. And you definitely want to go up on this. I know my hand's blocking it. You definitely want to go up on these stitches, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute if I can zoom in after this stitch. Then again, my stitches may just be extremely tight for this project because I'm having to loosen them, and usually I don't have to loosen that many all the time. So when I say we're not going sideways, because you can see there's stitches available to go sideways, I am going upwards because there's a stitch right in there, that one right there, the one that's going, you can go into it right there. So if you look, I'm going to go right there. I'm going to go up into it. If I can get into it, it'll be a good example that sometimes you gotta pick one direction. Right there. It's going that way. Instead of the two going that way, you're going to use those. Again, better example, I can use the pick to show you. You want that stitch right, that one, right there, all around. Because it's easier to get into rather than going this way against the wire. You're going this way while the wire goes this way. You don't want to go along the wire. You want to go against it. So now that you see what stitches, surface stitches to use, and that it gets easier once you get over the butt connector, I'm going to go around and do all these double crochets, and then I will meet back with you once I'm done. Okay, and we're back again, and we did a round of double crochet stitches all around, and I have not joined it yet. I'm going to join it in a second, but just a warning, if you're worried about your stitches going through the other side, that you poked through the surface stitch and did an actual stitch, just go ahead and flip it, and you can see that you did not actually go through. Right there, I did go through a little bit, but that's neither here or there for this project. But if you're worried about going through, just go ahead and flip over, and you can see that whether you went through or not. I'm not worried about that right now at this moment, but if you're worried about that, just go ahead and flip over, and you will see that whether or not you did do that. So I'm going to go ahead and join the stitch, and normally I would skip this round, this actual step, because I don't feel like I need to do it, but if you're a beginner, I feel like you need to do it, especially because if you have no experience with using a wire and you don't know how tight it is and hard to get into that stitch it is, then you're probably going to want to do this. So now I just have a row of double crochet. We're just going to try to actually get this on, and I did actually take some stuffing out because it was pushing the cardboard up, so we'll see if that happens right now, because it looks like it's pushing it up a little bit. So I'm going to remove just a little bit more for my preference and rearrange it. And I did, like I said, the stuffing moves. Specifically, that was the problem I was having for this project. So, just another point, like when you're working with this wire, not only is the stuffing moving, but the wire is moving and bending with your hands as you're moving and going, and it can bend immensely because it's meant to bend. So while it's bending, the stuffing is moving as well out of place and into different places than you wanted it to originally be. So you can imagine how hard that is with such a big project. So you need, as you're going, you're going to stuff as you go, then you're going to need it to stay in place. If it's not going to on its own, you're going to have to force it to stay into place, which is where the cardboard and the wire comes in. And that's why I'm doing the cardboard at each part I do wire. So let's see if this is going to stay in a bit better. Let's see. I think it could use a little more out. We'll just take this big chunk out, kind of rearrange it and take that out too. And this is why I say I am terrible at stuffing. I'm highly picky about where it goes and how much is in here. So, you know, and that's why the yarn helps. It can fulfill, I'm sorry, not fulfill. It can fill some spaces that stuffing just doesn't get into. And as you can see, I'm having some shape here, so it really needs to get in there to fill that shape in the sides specifically, which is where this wire does come in handy, because you can hang on to that wire and stuff and pull and do what you need to do to manipulate the shape. And then you can fix the shape later with the wire. As you can see, I'm using the wire to kind of like hang on to and then kind of mold kind of like a pot. And if you've ever done pottery, it's kind of like using it for pottery. And I'm kind of stuffing it where I want it to go, especially down into the corners, because that's the hardest place to get. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to shape the wire back into shape that I need, as you can see. And then even it can get kind of, see, it can kind of bend. So I can take the wire and I can pull it out and straighten it. It makes it much more durable. And again, this is not something somebody's going to be touching. It's a decoration. So if I understuff it, it's not a big deal. So I can always add stuffing back in again. You know, it's not a big deal. But if I overstuff it, it's going to look funny. So let's try this again. And it really would have helped if I had just skipped this step, because I'm not a beginner. But this step is important for a beginner. So we're going to create that net now. And that net is, where'd my hook go? Oh my gosh, where's my hook? Oh, does anybody see my hook? It's like Dora the Explorer. Do you see my hook? Seriously, does anybody see my hook here? Oh great, I lost my hook here. Okay, I'm just gonna grab another one so we're not messing around here. Let me find, I'll just find one. That was a 3.5. I'm trying to find one that's similar. I'm a little upset that I lost my hook. Darn it. Let me see if I can find one a little bit closer than a 4.5. I found a 4. That's great. Okay, so yeah, don't want to use a 4.5. That's a little too big for what I'm thinking right now. Watch, I'll find my 3.5 as soon as we start, because that's always what happens. It's always as soon as you grab a new hook. Always as you lose it and you buy a new one. That's always what happens, especially with your favorite size. So, okay, so here we go. I joined it, and now I'm going to, and I see it's a little hard. You're going to kind of have to multitask, because you are going to get some resistance. Whether you overstuff it, understuff it, do it perfectly, you're going to get some resistance. At least with you doing it this way with a first row instead of going straight at it. So, okay, here we go. This is going to be a little tricky, as you can see. So I'm going to do one. Sorry. Okay, this is hard. 2 chains. Okay, so you're going to do 2 chains. And this is only hard because I already did this 2 times, and this is my 3rd time, and I'm kind of balancing on its nose. So, which is good, because if you had to balance it on its nose without doing this, obviously all this would have moved and collapsed. So that's the purpose of all this. So, and we're going to do a double. And if you want to, you know what? Actually, what we're going to do is I'm just going to take this off right now, and we'll slide it in afterwards once we get in there. So we're just going to do a, sorry, I lost track here. We'll restart that stitch. Okay, so here we go. So what we're doing is we're going to do a double. So we're in the corner. So actually, I'm sorry. What we're doing is a bunch of decreases. This is going to be all decreases except for the sides. So it doesn't matter how many decreases you do as long as it fits. So we're just going to do double decreases multiple times in the corners. So I'm going to do 2 here, and then I'm going to do another 2 decrease right here. Okay, so we're going to do 2 decreases right there, and then we're, oh, sorry, it's slippery. I'm used to using 3.5 by now. Okay, so then we're going to do some more double crochets, and I'll meet you once we get back into the other corner. So we get to the second corner. or wherever you need to make it the tightest. For me, it's the corners. Okay, so now that I've done some double crochets, so what I mean by corners is this is granted a circle, but there's a corner here, there's a corner here, a corner here, and a corner here. And by that, I mean, if we keep going, so right about there. So let me do a few more double crochets. Oh, and I found my 3.5. I think that's really funny. I found my 3.5 while I was working. And isn't it always that you find it when you need it the most? Or I'm sorry, that you find it when you need it the least. You know, you lose it when you need it the most, and you find it when you need it least. Okay, so we're at the corner. Let me see, I can't see. Okay, I need to do 2 more, and then we'll do it again. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more double crochet increases. And sorry, I'm doing it wrong. I apologize. So we're going to do 2 double crochet decreases. So I'm going to do it again. And again, I know the camera is moving. This is my first tutorial. I will work on all the moving and stuff, and hopefully it'll get better. So as you can see, I did do those 2 decreases, and I just want you to do 2 decreases in each corner. So now I'm going to do some more double crochets, and now that I have my 3.5, I think I can actually go faster and be able to actually get some of this done faster. Try seeing if I can pull this off, or if I have to go off camera and hurriedly do it so I can make this faster, but it seems to be fine. And you're not going to have to do this, you're not going to have to encase it in yarn like I did with my my Tunisian crochet case. You're just going to have to make a net, and that's why I call it a net, is because it's not fully encasing the cardboard. It's just holding it there like a net, and that's why I don't want to use single crochet, because it's just going to make it tight. It's not going to let it breathe. It's not going to hold it like a net. That's why I'm using double crochets, because it's not supposed to be a timely process. This is not supposed to be a timely process. You should be spending time working on the other things that you need to be working on, the details. I don't think this should be something that should be timely to me. I think it should just hold it in place, and that's it. I don't think you should have to worry about anything else except it being durable. I don't think it should have to be timely. I don't think durable should have to be a timely manner. Okay, so let's see. We are getting close to the 3rd corner. So let me do 4 more double crochets. And just because you have if you do have a different shape, it doesn't have to be round, it doesn't have to be square. It doesn't mean you can't get creative with the cardboard or use the netting or whatever. I mean, this is just how I'm using it right now. So, I mean, use it for whatever. It's just, you know, I'm showing that you do have to somehow hold it in place or something. So we're going to do 2 decreases. I just think this should be an easy process for sculpting. I think it should also be a much easier way to reduce, reuse, and recycle. I have a whole room of boxes doing nothing, and I feel like I have found what to do with them. So continuing our way with, see, corner, corner, corner. So we have one last corner over here. So let me finish doing these double crochets here to get to that 4th corner. And again, you know, I did redo the stuffing, but again, it is moving. So I'm going to have to not necessarily redo it all the way. I just kind of got to rearrange it a little bit to fit what I'm doing here. And again, I'm sorry for the movement of the camera. My back was hurting, so I apologize for that. I know it's a lot of movement, and I know I keep messing up a little bit here. I just think, you know, it should be a little more educational, and I'm trying to share my knowledge here. So it's not necessarily tension we're using to keep this cardboard in. I don't think it has anything to do with tension at all. I think it has to do everything with the decreases we're going to use in the next round, because we are going to use an army of decreases to keep it in. So let's see. Let me match it here. Okay, let's do 2 more regular double crochets. Okay, now we're going to do 2 decreases. Oops, sorry, went through that second loop by accident. Okay, we're going to do a second decrease. Okay, now the rest are going to be all double crochets. So I will finish that off and join it, and I will be right back. Okay, so I came back before joining due to the fact that we only did 1 decrease here. So I want to finish up with another double decrease and joining it. But before I join it, I want to stick my cardboard in, because if you make it too tight and you continue, you're not going to be able to fit that in, and then you're going to have to undo it and you're going to regret it. So first, let's kind of tap this down a little bit, and I'm going to stick this in. Now let me kind of see, it's getting caught in here. Now I'm going to flip it around to the part I was doing. Okay, so this is the part where I am going to have to hold it, even though it is a little bit, the yarn is holding it in just a little bit more, especially once I join it and do the rest. So I'm going to go into this first stitch, and I'm going to join it, and I'm going to pull real tight. Not too tight to break it, but just tight. Now I'm going to chain 2. And we're going to just keep on decreasing. And it doesn't really matter how many decreases you do, as long as you just keep decreasing. So, like right here, it's not necessarily going to be a double decrease. It could be a triple decrease, a quadruple decrease. You just got to keep decreasing it multiple times and keep going. And if it looks like it's getting too tight, you're going to go ahead and start adding some double crochets, just regular crochet. Regular stitches, I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and do a, what am I feeling like? We'll try a triple first. 1, 2, 3. So a triple decrease, you should just have 4 loops on your hook, and pull it tight. And this cardboard can sometimes try to slip out of your hand and stuff. Just kind of keep readjusting it as you go. And this just happens, a reminder, this just happens to be how I'm using it today for this project. So again, we're going to do another decrease, and I think we can do another triple. And reminder, it doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be pretty at all. You're just trying to look for a little bit of functionality in this one. And eventually, as you keep going, it'll stop popping up and it'll hold in just like a net. Let's see. So now, because it keeps popping up, I'm going to try a quadruple. So let's do a quadruple. Do a quadruple here. So just like a triple, we're going to do a quadruple, double crochet, decrease. And if you really need to, put your finger down here as not only some tension, but able to hold down the cardboard. We'll go in here. And now we'll lift up, use the base of your hand here, the side of your hand. So you can lift up and go like that. And now you can pull through. See, and you're still holding the cardboard down. It's part of having to use multiple parts of your hand. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go through both loops there. If you have to let go, you have to let go. It's not a big deal. It's not something everybody can do. Okay, now we're going to go through the next stitch. And we'll do a third one. Yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over, through the 4th stitch, yarn over, and through 2 loops. And now you should have, sorry, that's a little hidden right there, you should have 5 stitches. You're going to yarn over and go through all 5 stitches. And again, it's popping out, but just kind of shove it in there. And when I say keep decreasing, I mean keep doing immense amounts of decreasing all over. And that's included for the next round. We're just going to keep decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. I've even done 5 decreases or, you know, 5 stitches or 6 stitches to decrease all at once. So you're just gonna keep decreasing. You're just gonna keep putting all these stitches together. So you can kind of see. I mean, you can even do, like, we'll do another 3, but then I think we should do 5 of them. And then I'll keep going. And it should kind of create like a pocket. I know I called it a net, but at first it's going to create like this pocket here. So, and you don't want it to go over, you just want it to match up with this white. Sorry. See, because you might pull this over by accident, but you just want all this to work out. And if you have to, go in here and tuck it in and fix your stuffing. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with fixing your stuffing after the fact to make sure everything's good. Or adding more. I'm going to add some. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Okay. Like I said, I'm not very good at stuffing whatsoever. What am I? Oh, I'm touching the safety eye. I was like, what is that? It's the back of the safety eye. Okay. There we go. Put that in. Just a little bit out. Okay, so as you can see, it's still quite open. So I'm going to try to get ahead of this for just a minute and come back. Okay, so I'm back and I got ahead of it a little bit to where the cardboard is staying in. Okay, so I've done from about here to here in nothing but decreases. So we're just going to continue decreasing it and decreasing it. As you can see, this is still loose and you want it to be kind of like a ruffle a little bit. It's not a ruffle, but it's just really tight. So we're just going to continue until that holds in. And I'm sorry, but I'm just going to continue going really fast. If you want to know how to do a decrease or a double crochet decrease, or if you already know how to do a half a double decrease would even work, you can look it up. It's not that hard. You can even look up like, oh, they'll call it not a decrease, but like, you know, in abbreviation, they'll call it like a half double together or a double crochet together. So it's not always called a decrease. I don't know where you're from or what they call it, but it's either a decrease or they'll call it a, you know, together. You know, however how many times, 2 together, 3 together, 4 together. You know, I just like to call it a decrease, you know, however many times. That's just me. So I'm just going to keep going, doing large, like I said, large number decreases. And like I said, when I mean large number, yeah, I mean like a large number of decreases, not only in quality and quantity, but mainly the actual decrease will have multiple stitches in it. So not just the actual quantity decreases, but the amount of stitches in the actual decrease. As you can see, the more you work into it, it's staying in. But we're still going to do another row because I can get in there, and I don't want to be able to get in there that easy. So I'm going to continue, and I'll come back once I'm done with this row. Okay, so this is what it should look like after about round 3. So we're still going to do one more round because even though it's tight, I can still get in there. So we're going to do a 4th round of nothing but increases, which should make it even tighter due to how big these stitches are and how spacious they're becoming due to our decreasing. So I'm hoping that our next round should be the last round we should need for this. Okay, so this is a finished row 4, and this is why I call it a netting, because as it's getting tighter, it starts to create like a netting design, but also holds it in there like a net. And you can try to stick your finger in there, but it's going to get really tight. So you can even continue to go into the circle and try to encase it, but there's no point in that. It is going to stay, it's interlocked with that wire. So let me go ahead and cut this off and pull it through. We're going to pull it through. Okay, so that's good. So that part's done. So what we're going to do is flip this back over so you can see that it's highly shapely using this method, and it's going to stay shapely. So I don't know if you can tell the 3 sections I've done, but this section here, this section here, and then this section here. And it just holds everything in from moving while you're doing your work if you have to stuff as you go, especially on a big project like this. So as you can see, the stuffing was moving in here. It was moving. It's going to stay now. It's not going anywhere. So that's my tutorial for cardboard for now. I will come back with another tutorial of cardboard on my Tunisian crochet hook holder. I will also come back for part 2 out of part 3 of my series about my wire that I use not only for this, but the wire I use for hats and a lot of other things I use. It will also include talking about the butt connectors I use for the wire. These are them. This is the size I use to match the wire I use. This is what they look like. And I will be discussing these butt connectors and how they work and how I utilize it with the wire and how I tend to utilize the wire. I'll also talk about a hat wire as well, to be beneficial for your projects as well. Also how you can use the hat wire and the metal wire I use for hats, whatever you need them for, how one is different than the other. But like I said, I'll also come back with another tutorial for cardboard. I appreciate your time and patience with me for my first tutorial. This is Mr. G, and I hope you have a shiny and sparkly day. Thank you.